where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Poleski dives on the right side, very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys, Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Poleski. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vita Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will cook the grass a little. A 180, no, a 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernald. Gernald will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
In recent years, the popularity of motor racing in the Netherlands has surged thanks to a young F1 star by the name of Max Verstappen. While many bridges have to be crossed to bring F1 back to the Dutch in the real world, in the virtual world it's as simple as clicking a button and here we have it. This is round 6 of the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship from Zandvoort, and you're going to get to see all of the action unfold live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is Richie Hearn. Behind the scenes we have our director Amjad Yamin, and he is using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. Richie, last week we saw one of the most incredible battles we could hope for in these classic F1 cars over at Alton Park. Honestly though, there's no reason why we couldn't expect to see more of the same here today.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Yeah, absolutely. Last week was a great race, and they all expected that to on that classic track. We're back to another classic track at Zandvoort, and it's a tricky one. It's a lot of fun to drive, very flowing, up and down, right near the ocean there. It's got 13 turns, 2.6 miles long. Like I say, it's a tricky track to get right. There are really not many passing zones that are good. Turn 1's a classic one. Might see a passing in turn 10 as it widens out there for that sharp right-hand corner. Maybe in turn 7, we'll see. There's a few historic moments for this place. In 1975, James Hunt got his first F1 win here in the wet. And of course, that classic Gilles Villeneuve, he's driving around on 3 wheels. Probably the best way to give you guys a shot at this track is watching the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Johan Orlampi in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Zandvoort. Tarzan is easily the best place to pass around here. The banking around the outside will make it more feasible to try to defend on that line, but it's incredibly difficult. From off the corner, drivers will hold to the left to set themselves up for the narrow Gerlach. There's a little crest that makes it unwise to try to go through too wide, which is disappointing because otherwise Hugenholtz would be another good hairpin for a pass. Try to set yourself up for the exit since it's a steep uphill climb. Plus, you're not going to be lifting all the way through Slotemacher and turn 5. The rise will make it very blind on the entry into Schievelach, but the banking is what keeps the speeds through this sweeper terrifyingly fast. From out of there, it's a pretty short trip up to Marlborough, which kicks off the modern section of the circuit. The track continues to curve all the way up to Renault, making braking very difficult. This hairpin swings you right into the line for the next hairpin, which is Vodafone. It's a lot more important to get the proper line through this corner since it'll lead you onto the backstretch, so make sure and square off the exit. Drift the car gently across the track, and once you come over the hill, spot your brake marker for the Audi S. This weird chicane hairpin combo is very slow and tight. Like any low-speed corner in the Lotus, be careful with your right foot so that you don't loop it. Then there's Kumo, which is critical to both this lap and the next one. Use the banking and try to carry as much speed as you can because you won't be lifting all the way to the line. Lyondike is a flat-out blast with very little runoff to the outside. This could set up some draft battles down the front stretch, but hopefully you've kept it all together and have now finished the lap around Zandvoort.
Well, that's how you do one lap around here. These drivers getting set to do 30 of them. Let's have a look at some of our top contenders throughout this season, beginning with our driver standings. There you see, even with one drop week accounted for, Gernot Frisch has a healthy lead over Antti Lepisto, who has had a history this season of having strong performances but not being able to seal the deal at the end. Martin Granberg moves up 3 spots in the standings, is now sitting third, moving ahead of Pablo Lumbrara Suarez, who's been consistent this year, but as you can see, a lot of points there being accounted for in that drop week. We'll see if he's able to continue to get strong performances throughout the season, move back up onto the podium positions in the standings. John Stevens also having a strong performance, rounding out the Drivers' Championship. Not the only championship we have going on. This is called the Classic Teams Championship Series for a reason. And here we have a look at the team standings. We have a tie going on at the top between Ferrari and Ligier. And there you see why, a couple of big names being represented for both of those teams. They have about 20 to 30 points over the 3 teams you see there chasing them. McLaren, Ram and Williams rounding out the top 5, Richie.
Yeah, and Gernot's had a really strong run here last few races. He's got 3 wins, one at Sebring, VIR, and at Oulton Park last week. He was second at Detroit as well, so that's why he's got that healthy 128-point lead. I'm not seeing Antti Lepisto in this room today, so his closest rival is probably skipping this one, so this could be another good points day for him as well.
Yeah, another driver we're not seeing here, and unfortunately it's not much of a surprise, is Nuno Moreira, who gave Gernot Frisch a run for his money last week. Moreira doesn't run this series every single week, but whenever he does come, he's certainly straight up there for the win. It must be said, Gernot Frisch has yet to turn a lap in qualifying. Actually, take that back. He just crossed the line now and takes pole by half a second over John Stevens.
Yeah, that's a healthy margin there. And, if he gets a clean start, we might just be saying bye-bye to him and watching the race for second and third. And Ove Trenkrade's been strong in the past, and him and John Stevens are close on that battle here for second and third on the grid. Pablo Suarez has had some good races. He's been really busy those last couple of rounds, having to hold off a whole slew of people, and he's done a great job with that. And I think that's helped with their team championship in that Ligier team, along with Antti Lepisto.
Yeah, we mentioned they're going to be doing 30 laps here today, Richie, and a lot can happen in those 30 laps. Let's take a closer look at the race details.
Yeah, we're halfway through the season here. We're in round 6 of 12. They do get 4 drops for the drivers and 2 for the team. You can see we have calculated those drops in the original in the point standings we showed you earlier. This is going to be 30 laps. There's no reason to stop for fuel or tires, but it is an open setup. We have our normal 17 incident points, and if you go over that, you will get disqualified. And they do use the official iRacing points. So that being said, how many drivers and the quality of the field is going to affect how many points these guys get.
We see Gernot Frisch coming across the line then, unable to improve on his lap time, but it does look like the Ferrari driver will be starting from pole. Meanwhile, likewise, we have a 20-car field with a driver with the last name Hamilton, not turning a lap in qualifying yet, but no threat of rain here today at Zandvoort. We'll tell you that right now. No threat of rain ever on iRacing. Let's take a quick look at the weather conditions. Actually, a fairly nice day, Richie. I mean, if there was actually a real-life crowd here, I think I'd be enjoying this. 68 degrees Fahrenheit, nice and cool. The track, 94 degrees Fahrenheit. So, not the grippiest of conditions, but also should be enough that the drivers won't have to fight tyre wear a whole lot during the course of a race.
Yeah, it should be a good race for them. Looking at the track temp, it's about 91 degrees as well. So, tire wear shouldn't be an issue. You'll be able to go pretty much flat out for the entire 30 laps, I think.
So obviously it looks like Friesch has got this pole in the bag, but what kind of battle are we going to see behind him? This is definitely the highest we've seen John Stevens up the grid all season long, currently sitting in second, and he only has a 10th over Trangeray and a few tenths over Pablo Suarez lined up in fourth.
Yeah, those three are going to be tight. Then there's a kind of quite a drop off there to Luis Baboni into the fifth position, so about another half a second, and he's got about a half a second to Adam Frazier. So we might see these guys split up a little bit. I think, like I said, if Gurno gets a good start, he might just take off. He's very, very consistent, and we're going to come to the grid here in just a second.
Yep, qualifying is done, so the car's about to start getting gridded up. This is the order they'll get gridded up in. Gurno Friesch will be on pole ahead of a number 4 machine of John Stevens. Ove Trangeray and Pablo Lumbrera Suarez will be starting on row number 2. Luis Baboni did a good job to put the number 10 car up there in the 5th spot on the grid ahead of Adam Frazier. Stefan Beluca will be starting 7th place ahead of Barry West. Mick Carr and Robert Simpkins will round out the top 10.
Yeah, coming up on row 6 will be Daniel Banker and Steve Sarlis. Row 7 will be Adam Dizderovic and Arthur Rast. Sorry, Adam. Row 8 will be Andrew Jones and Francesco Solima. Row 9 will be Johnny Bell and Francois Gagne. Row 10 will be Yao Milani and Russell Hamilton.
And does not look like Yao Milani is actually in the service. So just a 19-car field here, getting set to start. Still waiting on our pole sitter to grid up. There he is. Friesch is on the grid, 19 cars on the grid for 30 laps of racing, about to get underway here at Zandvoort, and the lights are off and away they go. A great start by Friesch, a horrible start by Stevens, who's already down the 3rd place. The 2nd Ferrari driver, Ove Trangeray, up there in 2nd. Down the inside comes Suarez into 3rd. When it's all said and done, John Stevens drops from 2nd to 4th in the 1st corner.
Yeah, very good start from Gurno, which is expected.
Oh, contact for 5th. Adam Frazier almost had a moment.
Yeah, these guys are getting tight in that little hairpin there. And great start by Ove, which is what he needed. And he's going to try to chase down that other Ferrari driver, Gurno. Meanwhile, they're all single file. You can see how this track goes up and down. Not much room if you go off the track. You're going to hit something. So you got to try to keep it clean.
Although they have that massive sandpit on the outside of that corner there, just in case you want to go and spend the day at the beach. Gurno Friesch trying to check out on the field up front. Of course, he's being a classic Lotus 79 cars. He doesn't have to worry about breaking DRS range or anything. But that being said, he would love to break the slipstream to Ove Trangeray as they work their way through the chicane for the first time.
Yeah, they got a grid battle with Mick Carr and John Stevens. Mick got a good start. John did not, and he's holding up. He's got a whole train of cars behind him, so he's got a lot of work to do to kind of keep his eyes going forward instead of looking in those mirrors.
Lap 1 completed. Friesch leads Trangeray, Suarez, Stevens, who, as we mentioned, dropped back to the 4th on the opening lap there. Baboni back in 5th place, already almost 4 seconds back. The top drivers really broke out on that first lap.
Yeah, Ove's lost about a 1.5 seconds already to Gurno, and I was wrong on my what I was saying earlier. It's Ove in 2nd, and Pablo Suarez in 3rd, and then John Stevens. My timing and scoring was a little bit wrong, so I apologize for that. So that battle between Suarez and John Stevens is heating up.
Yeah, and seeing the team championship pan out here with the top 2 teams running up front. Friesch, of course, running the Ferrari in the lead. Ligier being well represented by Suarez running in 3rd place. It must be said that this is a single split race going on right now. Only 19 drivers signed up for this time slot. Unfortunately, this isn't a track that gets raced a lot, Richie. It's one of the trickier ones. Wonder if that scares people away. Obviously, very thankful these guys have came out to put a race on, although Frisch doesn't intend on racing a lot of people, he just plans on checking out. Well, we do have some good battles back here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to drive, but it is tough to race, especially in a car this fast. It's probably a little bit more fun to run in the Skippy car. And here we go. We got a battle here with Barry West and Mick Carr.
Mick Carr getting a bit of oversteer there, out of a groove.
That's going into turn 1, like we talked about. It's a good passing zone. They're going side by side, so nice job at keeping it clean. And Barry's getting a little impatient. He really wants to get back. I think Mick's holding all these guys up, and they're starting to lose touch with the group in front of them.
The group in front of them being rounded off by Stefan Beluca, running in 7th place right now. As you mentioned, Mick Carr holding up this train of West, Simpkins, Salis and Banker also at the tail end of that in the 12th position.
Yeah, one thing to point out about Steve Sarlis, he is teammates with Gurno, and that team championship is tied. So Pablo Suarez is in the Ligier team, which is tied with Ferrari for the top spot. He's running 3rd, but his teammate is not here today, so it's going to be important for him to have a strong finish.
And I'm not sure how much longer Pablo Suarez will be running in 3rd, because as they come back out onto the front straight, the complete lap number 3, John Stevens, after getting that poor start, is putting the pressure back on.
Yeah, he is, and but we've seen this before from Suarez, I believe in Detroit and Oulton Park. He does a masterful job of holding people behind him, and he's got to do that again. He's got about 26 laps, and you just got to focus forward and not make a mistake.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, Richie, I believe it was John Stevens both times that Suarez had all over his rear wing. I mean, Stevens has got a...
Yeah, I believe you're right. You're actually right. And especially Detroit, those guys were stuck together like 2 magnets, and it kind of worked that way as well at Oulton Park. So they know each other very well. I'm sure John Stevens gets tired of staring at the back of that blue and white Ligier machine, but he didn't get quite the start he wanted. So just got to be a little patient and try to get that run off that last corner, because that's going to be your best opportunity to pass is into turn 1.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the closer battles out on track right now, but not the only one. 13th place also hotly contested with Andrew Drones and Adnan. You pronounced it correctly, Richie. You have a go again.
Yeah, I'll just go by the first name as Adnan. Tongue ties me a little bit, but those guys are having a really good battle there. And for 13th, 14th, and 15th, as you see on your screen. Meanwhile, Gurno is totally checked out, 3.7 seconds ahead of Ove. Ove hasn't left those guys. He's only about a second ahead of Suarez and John Stevens, so that battle for second has not gone away.
For those of you new to watching this series, saying, didn't these commentators have time to rehearse these drivers' names ahead of the broadcast? Not really, no. This is an official series race. Even the drivers don't know who their competitors are until the session loads, and some of them might not even know they're competing in the championship, Ricky. Drivers at the back might have just seen, oh, there's a classic F1 race on at Zandvoort. I'm going to sign in, and later today they'll find out they were on TV.
Yeah, and unfortunately for me, with my Southern California accent, I don't think that any amount of practice will help me get these names right. So.
Oh, and Andrew Jones is off. Andrew Jones, who have been running in 13th place, has had an off. I don't think he's damaged the car too badly. He comes back on in 16th.
There he comes through that sweeping left hand. It is banked. Got on the gas a little bit too hard, and just kind of tagged the inside wall there. Not too much. He's able to reverse it and get going again.
Yeah, it's turn 3, and you can see that's one of the... It's a tough track to learn this, Richie, because coming out of turn 3, you've got to tell yourself you've got to get a good exit because you've got a long straight ahead of you. But it's a very blind, a very twisty straight. It takes a while to even learn the straightaways around here.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out. There's a lot of blind entrances, and the course is fast. So, I mean, you got to carry that momentum, and just one of those things you got to have some practice and just know where you're placing the car is the correct spot. Like I say, it is a fun track to drive, but it is a tough track to race on.
Yeah, 2.67 miles around, and they're completing the laps in about, well, 1 minute 25.7. is what Gernot Frisch has set as the fastest lap of a race. He did that last time by the only driver right now in the 125s.
And as we look at the running order here, you know, Gernot's running up front. Obviously, Ove got a great start from 3rd to 2nd. Our big loser there was John Stevens from 2nd to 4th, and he's really still hounding down Suarez, trying to get that pass done, but he's lost a little bit of track time. But at the same time, they're still keeping in touch with Ove, so we'll keep an eye on this battle and see how it plays out.
Yeah, most of the field have held their positions from the start of the race. We mentioned, we've well documented how 2nd through 4th switched around. The second change after that was Mick Carr getting by Barry West. West started in 8th. That's where Carr currently runs right now. And then outside the top 10, it's mixed up a little bit. No huge movers throughout the field, but early stages here at Zandvoort.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet all the way through the field. I'm looking at it, and my biggest battle right now I'm watching is still Suarez and John Stevens. You know, Suarez is sliding that car around, allowing John Stevens to get right up behind him again, as you see on your screen, coming into that corner. And there we go, that long bank corner. It is a fun corner because it is banked, but you got to get back on the gas pretty hard. And here comes that winding straightaway you're talking about, over a blind crest here to the right. It's very tricky. And this last 2 corners, this is where John wants to try to stay as close as he can so he can get that run. Coming up to the next section is probably going to be one of his best spots to pass.
And 8th place, yeah, 8th place may soon be contested again as well, because Mick Carr just made a mistake, put a couple of wheels off, and that has reeled Barry West back in.
Yeah, the track gets really wide where they're at right now. We're going to make this long left-hand corner. It tightens up. And then we're coming up, believe to turn 10, where it is another good passing zone. But you got to be really close, because as you come over this rise, that's where you're going to start your braking. And, you know, not quite close enough to make that pass, but he is right on him.
In 10 minutes, we're already at almost a third race distance of this, and as we mentioned, with the cool track temperatures, strategy, you know, you shouldn't have to come into the pits. You've got enough fuel, the tyres shouldn't burn off. There is some strategy to be said for how much your tyres wear. And what about this? Here we go, 8th position, Barry West looking down the inside, but Mick Carr able to defend.
Yeah, he took a chance there and thought a little bit better of it. He might get, you know, it's tight, you know, it's not a lot of room, and he's running really good right now. Probably doesn't want to give up the position or have a chance to go off track just yet, but I believe he'll get a little bit more desperate as we get closer to the end. We are early on in this race.
Meanwhile, right behind him, there being a 3-way battle going on for 10th place, but Steve Salis just dropped out of that. He had been running in the middle of that, made a big mistake. It drops him back to 12th and into the clutches of Adnan. We get a replay of what exactly happened to Salis here. I wonder if it was at the same point that we saw Jones make a mistake earlier.
Yeah, he's getting going a little bit slow. Back to the racing, and like I said, he is the teammate for Gernot, so you know he's looking to hopefully get some points here. He's running in 12th. He's probably going to need to do a little bit better than that, and I know he can do that if he just keeps it clean.
Very clean opening to this race. 8 seconds, by the way, as the gap at Frisch has already opened up over Trantre. And honestly, this is more of a race I've been expecting out of Trantre throughout this season. He really hasn't had a lot of strong performances. I remember at VIR, he didn't set a qualifying time, and we had the cameras on him a lot, watching him charge his way through the field. Right now, though, a nice, solid 2nd place finish going on.
Yeah, he's running 2nd, which is good for him. Good to see a good, clean race. He has separated himself from Suarez at the moment. He's a good, healthy 2.5 seconds ahead of him. So just got to keep it clean. I mean, if something happens to Gernot, maybe they get some lap traffic, he'll inherit that win. Obviously, I don't think he has the speed for Gernot. He's running about over a second a lap slower than him on the track. He's just got to do his thing and run home and do that lonely 2nd place, which is not a bad thing sometimes.
no one is currently running in the 126s. Frisch is out there running 125s. Everyone else out there 127s on back. Now we expect that the change as the race goes on, these Lotus 79s go a lot quicker on lower fuel, having less fuel in the tank. Despite the fact that your tires are getting worn, these cars will take light fuel and worn tires over heavy fuel and new tires any day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've driven this car a few times myself, and the car is really sluggish with heavy fuel. And even though the tires do get worn, they don't give up much grip. So just as that fuel burns down, the car just naturally gets faster. On board with Suarez, he's still got John Stevens all over the back wing. And John will not give up. And like you said, these guys have been battling like this the last 2 races in a row. So they're very familiar with their own tactics.
Battle for 6th place shaping up. Adam Frazier has been losing a little bit of time to Stefan Beluca.
It's kind of a shame we don't have Annie Lepisto and Nuno Morero in this race to give Gurno a little bit of a challenge, because Nuno is just on cruise mode. He's already up to 10 seconds, and we're only in 10 laps into the race, so he might lap half the field by the time we're done.
Next week, these drivers will head over to the Donington Park course. We'll see if Marira's able to show up there, and Lepisto as well. Right now, I think Frisch enjoying not having that much competition behind him, but still things could get dicey for 2nd place. Even though we've been saying Chandray is kind of, you know, holding 2nd place to his own, he's only a few seconds up the road from Suarez and Stevens. I mean, all it would take is a quick mistake from Chandray. We could have a good battle going for 2nd.
These guys aren't giving up for that 3rd spot. Also watching lap traffic here, Russell Hamilton running in that 19th spot. And I can see Gurno Frisch is creeping up on him very quickly. I mean, Gurno did a 25.8 this last lap. And Russell, he's in the 32s. So Russell a little bit more timid with this car. And I think lap traffic is going to become an issue fairly soon.
And I don't know this for a fact, but it could very well be the case that Russell Hamilton is new to this car. And let's not forget, we mentioned this is a single split race. And this is something that's always, as we see Frisch go by quite easily there, that's always a bit of a concern for the leaders, is dealing with lap traffic who maybe don't have the same level of experience. And we saw that rear its ugly head over in Detroit. And something's wrong with Chandray. Chandray is off from 2nd. You see at the bottom of your screen, Suarez is now in the 2nd position. Chandray gets going again in 4th.
Yeah, he spun out all on his own here. We've got the replay coming up. That same corner we saw have problems for another. Coming up to the next corner. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, this is the final turn here, Richie, much later on in the lap.
Yeah, he just clipped that dirt, got on the and then spun it to the inside, gave up 2 spots. The car is still in good shape, so he's going to continue on, but he did give up 2 very important spots, so he's from 2nd. Now he's off the podium. He's got a lot of work to do.
And
that is actually, I was going to say, that left Suarez, for some reason, he gapped John Stevens because of that. So Suarez has got a little bit of breather finally.
Yeah, Stevens ran the 129 last lap around, so I have a feeling he must have made a mistake of his own on lap number 11 as well. Working lap number 12, we were mentioning how a simple mistake from Chandray could turn into a good battle for 2nd. We could have it coming up here, because Suarez has 2 seconds over Stevens. We'll see if Stevens can reel him back in.
Yeah, really good. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a feeling Chandray should be able to reel him back in, Richie, considering how much ground he made over this battle early on.
Yeah, we got a really good battle here for 10th spot between Robert Simpkins and Daniel Baker. And I was just watching Simpkins drive that car, and it looked more like he was driving on the dirt track than on a pavement. He was sliding that thing, a lot of opposite lock, so he's doing everything he can. That top 10 is important to him.
And here they come down the front straight, coming up to the best overtaking opportunity of the lap. Is turn number 1, but Banker a bit too far back in the number 9 machine. Speaking of the numbers, a credit where it's due to Robert Simpkins, running up in the top 10 right now with a 16 on his car. So not a particularly high I rating, but doing a good job to run in the top half of the field.
Yeah, and in case you didn't know, like their car number represents their ranking in their I rating to this field. So the lower the number, the higher the finish, the more points you're going to gain.
Well, I mentioned, Richie, how, you know, that this race, that you can fill the car up with fuel. You don't really have to worry about tyre wear. But, boy, at the rate he's going, Gernot Frisch might just want to make a pit stop for the heck of it.
Yeah, I mean, just for boredom alone, he is just cruising away. He's got 15 seconds on second place. Like I say, at the pace he's going, he's going to lap a lot of these guys. He's currently lapped Russell Hamilton. And Francois Gagne is next on his list, as he's not too far behind him. They're on the front straight together.
Yeah, Gagne running not too far behind Johnny Bell. We've seen Johnny Bell race in a couple of rounds this season. Hasn't always been a front runner, but I know even when races haven't gone the plan for him, he's been very persistent at keeping going. A good battle. Once again on for 8th place here.
That was a great pass on the outside. Barry's been working on that for a while on Mick Carr, and here comes our... Here we go, on board on the replay. Oh, it looked like Mick made a mistake. Let Barry get that run. Mick took the inside, and he just held steady. You know, if you can hang on the outside like Barry does, the next corner's yours because it is a left-hander. But great job of these guys by keeping it clean. Good job by Barry there.
And keeping an eye on the guys running 2nd, 3rd and 4th. They're not on top of each other yet, but sure enough, Richie, last lap around, Chandray in 4th was faster than Stevens, in 3rd was faster than Suarez in 2nd, so they are closing in on each other.
Yeah, John Stevens and Ove Tringrade have dropped into that 126 bracket. Pablo's last lap was in the low 127s. So, you know, you just got to focus forward. He's got a fast enough car to hold these guys off, but they are coming hot and heavy for him. I'm sure Ove's mad at himself for making that mistake because he was in a healthy 2nd place. So he's going to be working on that to get that back. Back to P10 here, that battle between Daniel Banker. Looked like he's got around Robert Simpkins, as we were watching earlier.
Yeah, Simpkins might want it back, though, heading into first corner. No, it's not going to happen. Let's see how Banker got this to start with. Looks like his final turn again, Richie, this fast right-hander. Once again, you mentioned 2 challenges of the circuit. Some of the turns are hard to see, and they're quite fast, and that's definitely the case on both accounts for that last corner.
Yeah, it looked like Robert got a little wide, got up on that extra curbing, and had to get off the gas, and Daniel just had that momentum and took advantage of it. Now Daniel has got Robert looking to get back by him here, so you know, he's going to have to watch his mirrors now instead of staring out in front of him. Meanwhile, Mick Carr is the next car in front of Daniel, but he's a healthy 4 seconds ahead.
And you see, not too far behind this battle for 10th. They can't battle too much because Steve Salis and Adnan Dizderevic are not too far behind them, rounding out positions 12 and 13.
Yeah, Steve Salis started 12th, is running in 12th. Like I say, he's teammates with Gernot, so I'm sure Gernot's looking to hopefully him get some more points so they can take the lead outright in that team championship for Ferrari. Up front, not much going on. Gernot's way out in front. Pablo Suarez, he's got a 1.3 second lead over John Stevens. John Stevens, he's got Ove kind of hanging in the back. He's less than a second. If we had DRS, he'd be in that zone, but we don't for these cars. Behind him, we got Luis Bababoni, but he's all alone. He's been running by himself this whole time in 5th spot. He's 7 seconds behind Ove and 3.2 seconds ahead of Adam Fraser. So nice job for him and the number 10 car running 5th. So nice job there.
Gonzalez has spun off into the beach. Wanted to play in the sandbox.
Yeah, just running all by himself.
He gets back going again, but definitely not going to help Ferrari in that team championship you were talking about, Richie.
No, definitely. But he's definitely lucky that there was a huge runoff because he went pretty deep into that beach area. And right behind him, I just saw basically the car behind him. I didn't know who that was, but that was Russell Hamilton spinning out. Sorry. And we got Gurno going by Francois Solomina. So Gurno's lapped all the way up to 15th spot. He's on a tear. He's running. His last lap was his best lap of the race. And as we said, as that fuel burns off, the cars do get faster.
Yeah, Francesco Solima, you talked about a couple of drivers drifting around this course, Richie. I saw that out of his number 19 machine earlier on during the race. It looks like he's got it under him now, and just in time as well, because Andrew Jones isn't too far behind for position.
Yep, pretty quiet once again up front, although Suarez, Stevens, and Ove are getting a little bit closer to each other, so in a lap or two, we should see a heated battle for that second spot. Daniel Banker has separated himself off from Robert Simpkins, that battle we were watching earlier. Barry West and Mick Carr still kind of latched together. Barry's got by Mick Carr when Mick made a mistake, and then Barry went around the outside of him. But he hasn't been able to leave Mick. So that's a good battle for 8th and 9th, and that's exactly where they started.
Meanwhile, the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th continues to close as they're about 10 to the final third of this race.
Next closest battle on the track is between Francesco Solomina. I'm pretty sure he's from Italy, if you look at his car. And Andrew Jones is right behind him. So that's another good battle, even though they're running for 15th and 16th spot. These guys are still trying as hard as they can.
And now this battle for 2nd has caught the lap traffic of Francois Gagne and Johnny Bell, who've been running close together. I was curious to see how easy they would let them by. Gagne just yielded the positions. Let's see if Bell is just as friendly here. As they're getting really close for 3rd. Yeah, Stevens made a big mistake, and Ove almost went for it right there. Another lap traffic. Now they're coming on to these last couple of corners onto the straightaway. And lap traffic has really thrown a curveball to Suarez and got everybody kind of close up for that 2nd place. Yeah, nice job by Bell and Gagne to move aside for those drivers. So here we go, entering the final 12 laps of a race. Just over 1 second covers 2nd place back to 4th. Yeah, this is the good battle going on, and I think this is just going to get heated up even more as we get closer and closer through that lap traffic. Meanwhile, Gurno just running away. I'm kind of interested to see how far he can get through the field at the pace he's going, but not much worry for him, that's for sure. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what's keeping Gurno entertained up there, Richie, is how many cars can I lap during this thing? Yeah, not a big field, and but it's a good chance for some of these guys with a little lower I rating to get some good points. So, you know, sometimes that's good for these guys, get a little confidence. And, you know, this car is tough. I've done some racing. It's not easy to drive at the limit for a full 30 laps. I'm watching Suarez there as we're watching, looks like we're watching Ove right behind John Stevens, but Suarez is bounding over those curves. I think he's feeling the heat. Sorry, Barry West, a big slide in one of the very few left-handers on this circuit that allows Mick Carr to get up alongside him. This is a battle that's been going on all race long. Yeah, that's turn 10, and we talked about a good passing spot, but
Man, Barry just closed the door on him, and good job for Mick not hitting him. But Mick's got a good run. He's going to try to make the same move that Barry put on him, coming down this front straightaway, maybe.
And unfortunate news for any fans out there of Arthur Rast, the driver in the number 13. Not such a lucky 13 today. He has lost the connection. He'd been running around 15th position out there.
Yeah, here comes Mick, going to try to pull the same move that Barry put on him, but not quite able to hold that outside line. So this battle is definitely heating up for that 8th spot. It's the best battle on track so far. Although if we go up to John Stevens, man, Ove is all over the back of John. And John is sliding around, really trying to keep that Ferrari behind him in that Candy Terrell.
Yeah, Trandre, of course, still kicking. And Luis Baboni has had an off from 5th place. He spun it around, gets back going again, but he's already lost 1 spot and now about to lose 2.
That's too bad. Here comes the replay. He was really running a nice race in 5th spot. But like I said, this car just got a little wide on the entrance, clipped that grass, and away she goes. Fortunately, he didn't hit anything, but he did lose a couple of spots.
And he's had another spin. He's in the wall. We'll continue on this replay here. You'll watch just a few turns after this. He bins it in the wall. He's still going.
He's still going, but he does have a lot of damage. Looks like got a little bit of a red mist. And then he spun off again, I just saw.
Yeah, I think when we get the replay here of him going off at the next corner, that he did actually collect damage in the wall, and that affected his handling. He had a 3rd incident late on during the race just because the car's not handling anymore.
Yeah, that was a fast off right there. And same thing, same mistake, just kind of dropped those wheels on the entrance of the corner, which is sometimes easy to do, and that's it. He's in the pits, and he's out of the race.
Steve Salis is another driver you see in the pits there. More bad news for the Ferrari driver. He's got damage to that machine, so Salis has also had a moment. Attrition beginning to play a role. It's been kind of a calm race. I wonder, Richie, if this is just a little bit of fatigue setting in on some of these drivers.
I just think it's a combination of a tough track and just trying a little too hard, and like I say, this car doesn't have any traction control or anything like that, so it can get away from you if you're not totally focused.
We ride on board Andrew Jones, the lap car, who moves up 2 positions from Salis and Baboni's misfortunes, but the 2nd to 4th place battle blasts on by him. Now they're blasting by the lap car Francesco Salima, although Salima actually getting in the way a little bit of Stevens and Trandre there. That's going to allow Suarez to break away.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, but this track is narrow at that section, so I mean there's only so much so much space you can get out of the way, so he did a good job. It just kind of broke him up a little bit. That's just the way it goes sometimes.
Arthur Rast, meanwhile, we mentioned he lost the connection a couple of laps ago. He has rejoined the race, but he's 2 laps down, running in 19th position right now.
So going up to Gernot Frisch and how far he can get up the field. Well, so far he's lapped all the way up to 12th spot. Oh, these guys getting in a lot of traffic here. Going by Arthur, looks like Russell Hamilton. And that's closing that gap up between John Stevens and Ove Trenkerade. This has not slowed down this battle. And like you mentioned earlier there, Sam, I'm sure Ove's kicking himself for making that mistake because he had an easy 2nd place going. And he hasn't quite been able to find a way past these 2 that passed him at that moment.
Yeah, Suarez so far has been a lot luckier with lap traffic and what Stevens and Trandre have. And as you mentioned, Richie, a lot of that is just due to the track. A lap car lets Suarez by easily enough, but then they kind of have to recommit themselves to the racing line before the next 2 cars come up.
Yeah, I mean, they have the right to the pavement as well. You can do the best you can, but sometimes I'm not going to send it into the fence just to get out of your way. So it's up to the guys who are lapping them sometimes just to be a little bit patient.
We've been keeping a good eye on this battle for 3rd. We'll tell you that the battle for 9th and the battle for 7th are not done yet. Barry West just ahead of Mick Carr. And in fact, the banker Simpkins battle for 9th place isn't too far behind them.
Yeah, this is soon, instead of a 2-car battle for 7th, it's going to be a 4-car battle if we keep going the way we are. We got 7 laps to go. So you can kind of see a little desperation as we get closer to the end on their driving styles on some of these guys, and I think that's why we're seeing some of these mistakes happen.
You talk about closing in on the end. Fish now only 6.5 laps to go already. This race has absolutely flown by, and for Fish it's flown by about half a minute quicker than it has for anyone else.
Yeah, his best lap was his last lap, and that was a 25.37. It looks like the next fastest lap to him was a 26.33 done by Ove. So, you know, Gurno, and not unexpected. He's had the run of these guys for this entire event.
And we've got some good battles up in the top 10, but credit where it's due. Bell and Gagne having let a lot of lap traffic by today. Their battle for 14th has not broken up. Bell's still getting pressure from behind.
Yeah, that's a good battle for 14th and 15th spots. And like I say, even though they're a lap down, they're having some fun, I'm sure, racing hard with each other. That Barry West, Mick Carr, Banker, and Simpkins battle is still right there with each other. They're all about second apart. Meanwhile, Pablo Suarez holding steady about 1.3 seconds ahead of John Stevens. But, man, John Stevens has had that red Ferrari in his mirror for a long time. And he's done a great job trying to hold on to that final podium spot with about 6 laps to go, coming up on about 5.
We'll see if Trandre is able to get a good run here as they come out of a right-hander and down into another right-hander, turn number 1 on this clockwise circuit. Now, I've got to ask, Richie, I remember it's actually been 5 years since I've raced here on iRacing. But I think I was one of those people who kind of like to tweak a car setup a little bit and make it turn right around here because there's very few left-handers. Is that something you ever did when you went road course racing in real life?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a track that's, you know, dominated by one turn or another, and or maybe like the most important corner was a right-hander, you might, you know, tweak the cross weight a little bit to make that car turn for you a little bit better. You'll just have to suffer on the other corners, but it's not uncommon.
Yeah, one of those. This, in my opinion, was always the trickiest left-hander to get right. It looks like a simple 90-degree left-hander, but it feels so much worse than that.
And it really tightens up, and it leads on to one of the few straightaways, so you got to get a good run. So, yeah, I agree. I always had problems with that corner myself.
Actually, when you look at the track map, it's definitely not a 90-degree hander. It can be delusional at times. And around goes Steven!
Oh, no. He's just such a good job.
Recovery.
Yeah, nice recovery, and he's got such a big gap on Adam, so he's only going to lose 1 spot. So not the end of the world, but unfortunately, he's did a good job trying to hold off Ove as long as he could. There we go. Just spinning around and just back it. There we go.
Now, has Trandre been holding anything back while he's been running behind Stevens? Can he run Suarez down in the final 5 laps?
We'll see. He's got 2 seconds to make up, and you know, I'm going to say no. I think he was giving everything he had to get by John. So Suarez has done a good job. His last lap was quite a bit quicker, 0.6 faster than Ove. So if he can continue on that pace, I think Pablo's got that second place sewn up. Just we have seen a lot of mistakes though individually, so we can't give up.
The battle for 12th, these two have been quite close all race long. Salima and Jones, but Jones has yet to make a move. Now, Jones was faster than Salima in qualifying and into the back car.
Oh, wow. That was really strange. I don't know if Salima missed a shift or something, because that was really, really a hard hit by Andrew.
Well, both cars are still going. We'll get a replay on board Jones here.
Yeah, it just looked like Salima just parked it like he had a problem, and Andrew had nowhere to go. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, but I don't know if he had a problem with his pedals or something, because he just stops right there.
They've resumed their running in 12th and 13th positions. They might have gotten away with this.
Yeah, Andrew's got a ton of jammerage on the front of his car now, so I think he's just going to try to nurse it back home. And that was unfortunate, but, you know, sometimes it happens. It looked like I just caught Andrew a little off guard how much Salima stopped in that corner.
And they're only going to have to nurse these cars around for 3 more laps. Now it says 4 to go at the top corner of the screen, but Prix is coming out of the final turn now. Cross the line, get the 3 to go.
Looks like we still have 17 cars running. Arthur Rass had disconnected with an internet problem, and he's reconnected now, so he is back out there running in 16th spot, although he's 2 laps down.
In the battle for 14th, he turned up in the closing stages. Bell and Gagne, these two have been close to each other all race long, and Gagne closing in. That car behind them is not for position. These two are running 2 laps down. 1 lap down. The car at the back there, Adnan Didjerevic, having a quiet race running on the lead lap by an 11th place.
Now, Pablo's been able to hold steady on Ove here at a 1.3 second gap. Their last laps were almost identical, so you know, if Pablo can hold tight, he's going to finish second.
You're looking at the wrong number there, Richie. Yeah, to the 10th of a second they're identical, but the seconds, Trandre was actually a full second faster than Suarez.
You are right. I think as I'm 47 years old, I might need glasses.
That's a 5 and a 6. We'll forgive you. So, can Trandre get second place back and redeem himself for that mistake he made earlier?
And we have talked about this in the past, but Pablo has done a masterful job, and many races we've covered have just holding people behind him. And so he's going to have that red Ferrari right in his mirrors in about half a lap, I believe.
Yeah, so Ferrari leading Ligier, the big constructor battle of a season. These are the 1980 F1 paint schemes they're using, even though it's a 1978 based F1 car.
Meanwhile, Barry West has separated himself off of Mick Carr a little bit for that 7th spot, so nice job to him. They're going around Salamina as a lap car. Mick Carr's coming up behind him. This battle's settled down. We thought maybe we'd have a 4-car battle for this spot, but looks like they've all... Ooh, Mick almost ran into the back of Salamina and almost sent him off the track, but he's able to keep going.
And that will allow Banker to close in. So these drivers have definitely been having action-packed races. Gernot Frisch, not as much. He is coming out of the final turn right now to start the final lap in the number 1 Ferrari.
And to give you an idea of how far ahead he is, I mean, Suarez, he's a good driver in this series, and he's 30 seconds behind Gernot. So Gernot's going to be able to take the checkered flag, have a sip of water, and then actually go back and watch the rest of the race.
Before second place crosses the line.
Right?
Oh, we saw Frisch at the start of the season. All he could do was a podium over at Watkins Glen. He won at Sebring, although that was a little controversial. Puhaka hit him while they were battling on the final lap. Puhaka yielded the spot back to Frisch and allowed him the win. Frisch went out the next week at VIR and got a second victory, second consecutive win. He got a second place finish over on the streets of Belle Isle in Detroit, and last week we saw him take a fantastic victory over at Alton Park with that battle with Moreira. This one, you could say it was a little bit easier with half a minute of clean air behind him. But that being said, the tricky nature of this track, I'm so sure Prix will be looking forward to relaxing in a few moments' time when he finally gets to take his hands off the steering wheel and celebrate what is inevitably going to be a victory for the driver of that #1 Ferrari here at Zandvoort. Out of a final turn, Gernot Prix wins again.
Yeah, that was a pretty easy victory for him, but he didn't make any mistakes, so that's all on him. He did a great job. Meanwhile, that battle for second is still right there. We got Pablo Suarez holding off Ove Trenkrade. Trenkrade's gotten closer. He's about 6/10 behind, but not close enough to make a move. I believe we're going to see our second and third place finishes just like this as we come onto that final turn onto the straightaway.
Ferrari, Ligier Ferrari, Prix, Suarez, Trenkrade will be your podium. Behind them, it'll be Stevens, Frazier, Beluca, and West. Next battle on track really is for 8th place with Mick Carr ahead of Daniel Banker, but I'm not sure Banker has enough.
Yeah, everybody's kind of separated out here. They're just going to cross the line unless, you know, someone makes a mistake, but I think it's just going to finish the way we see it on our screen. We're watching Mick Carr and Daniel Banker running that 8th and 9th spot, coming into the final last 2 corners. Mick's had an eventful race, but nice job for him. Started 9th, finishing 8th. Unfortunately, he's running in the 3 car, so it's not going to help him in the points much.
Yeah, definitely not the race I'm sure Mick Carr was hoping for, but made it to the finish line. And for your total number, it was 11 cars ultimately ending up on the lead lap there by the end of things. Shows you just how quickly this race went by. I'm sure if it had been a bit longer, Gernot Prix would have picked off about 5 more cars, put them a lap down by the end of this. And well, we'll get to talk to Prix in just a few moments here on the Global SimRacing Channel, hopefully, and be able to share his thoughts with you, as well as from several of our other top contenders. We'll also be back with a full race rundown. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to Zandvoort, where we just reached the halfway point of the season for the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship, and it was Gernot Frisch who absolutely dominated the day in his Ferrari, but Ligier was right there in second, with Pablo Lombrera Suarez finishing second place, albeit 26 seconds down the road. Ove Trandre had a mistake early on, tried to recover from it. He might be somewhat satisfied with the third place there. Likewise, a couple of mistakes during the race from Stevens saw him start second and finish fourth. Adam Fraser, quiet race up there. He'll take that with a fifth place finish ahead of Stephen Beluca. Barry West comes home in seventh place. We'll get to talk to him. Ahead of Mick Carr, Daniel Banker and Robert Simpkins round out the top 10.
And coming in 11th is Adnan Dazdarovic. He ran strong, started 13th. He was the last car in the lead lap. Next behind him was Francesco Solomina, who had some interesting times out there at points. Andrew Jones comes in 13th. Johnny Bell 14th. Francois Gagne in 15th. Coming in, who had a connection problem and getting back in the race was Arthur Rast in 16th. Russell Hamilton, might be his first time in this car. He did a good job hanging tough, getting out of the way of the leaders, finished the 17th, and I believe he was the last car running. Luis Baboni had some problems, finished 18th. Steve Starless had an accident, finished 19th, and Yao Milani is in 20th spot.
Well, we've caught up with our race winner, Gernot Frisch. Gernot, you've had a few wins this season. Some have came on the heels of tougher battles than what you had out there. But I've got to imagine, with the tricky nature of Zandvoort, you can never really let your guard down around here.
Hi, Sam. Yeah, that's true. It's always important to keep focus, which actually gets harder if you're leading by quite a margin. So, if you think about that, it was not such an easy race, at least not as easy as it may have looked, maybe.
Now, you're, of course, running a Ferrari out there. You have a good championship battle going on with the Ligier. But over on the driver's standings, you're kind of running away with things. Are you a little bit more concerned about that team championship battle, or is it still too early in the season?
I think the team championship battle will be really hard to win because Ligier is actually quite hard to beat. Antti made good points this week. He wasn't here today, but he made better points than me this week. So yeah, it will be really, really tough for me and Steve. Absolutely.
And you'll be heading over to Donington next week. Do you think we'll see do you expect you'll be able to run away with it again then, or are you hoping for more competition?
Actually, I'm sure I won't be winning next week because I'll be away. So maybe I can put in a race midweek, but definitely won't be here for the weekend race.
That's a shame to hear that, Gano. We enjoy seeing you race out there and the shows and the great racing you've put on this season. Fantastic drive out there today, Ruddy, and congrats on the win.
Thank you very much. Also good to see some other guys on the podium this week. So strong race by Pablo and Ove as well. John as well. So, bye-bye. See you.
Well, that was our race winner, Gernot Frisch, and a bit further on down the order, but still a solid top 10 finish for Barry West. Richie, you've caught up with him.
Yes, Barry, good to have you back out here. Very nicely done. A little bit eventful with Mick. Just kind of let us know how it went out there.
Yeah, it all stemmed from the bad start I made. I got swallowed up a bit, and Mick managed to get by me. And then when I was following him, I knew I was a bit quicker, but it was just, we were so close in time, I couldn't take any unnecessary risk. So I just tried to keep pressuring him to make him make a mistake. And he made lots of little mistakes, but nothing serious until, I don't know, it was about lap 20. It seemed like I was stuck behind him for an eternity. And then I managed to pull away when I got past. And then Then going into which corner was that? Which corner? One of the corners, the really slow left hand on negative camber. I locked up, and then he was level with me again, and then it started all over again. So it was, yeah, an eventful race. Interesting because I could see Stefan getting away, and we were fighting, and Stefan was pulling away in front of us, and you know, I knew I was a similar pace to Stefan, and we were going to have a good race, and it was too late at the end, and then I was catching, I think, towards the end a little bit, but we were so similar. But yeah, it was a good race and very hot. Yeah, yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Good
we talked a little bit about it at the beginning of how tough this track is to pass with its winding nature, and kind of saw that with your battle with Mick. But I will say that the pass you made around the outside on turn one was a hell of a move. We did cover that on our broadcast here, so if you go back and watch it, we showed that, so that was really exciting for us.
Oh, great! I'll have a look at that. Yeah, that's quite unusual around there. It's not that easy thing to do. I mean, you can get around halfway round, and then you've got to watch the other car coming right out. So you really got to trust the car you're racing with, because you know, they just tend to drift out into you. So it's a lot of accidents there. But yeah, Mick was a fair driver, so yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah, it was really exciting. So next week we go to Donington, probably a little closer to your home. We're going to see you out there.
Oh yeah, hopefully, yeah, and it'll be a bit cooler than this, perhaps.
Right,
a bit more grit, bit more fun. Yeah.
Was the track temp? We didn't, you know, it didn't seem like the track temp was that high, but was the grip really low?
It was on mine. I think I had too low pressures in my car, in the tires. I mean, it was 91, wasn't it? And I had what pressures I had? I think it was like 20, 19 and a half, 20 sort of thing. So I think I could have done with a bit more, I think, rather than less. But I still trying to get a handle on these tire pressures, because I was racing James Rawson yesterday, and he was first. He was pulling away nearly 3/4 of a second a lap. And then when he shared his setup at the end, and his setup's like 2 pounds per square inch more than mine, and it was quite cold. It was on 90-ish. No, 80-ish. So I just don't know which way to go with these tires. You'd think warmer weather, more pressure. It's the pressure, not the grip, isn't it? You know, so it seems to be you can drop the pressures right down in colder weather, and take the wing right off, because you get much more grip. So that's the way I've been trying to go, but I don't think I go far enough.
Yeah, these tires are a little different than the cars on the other on the service.
Yeah,
I find the same problem when I run this car. But well, nice job out there. Very clean race. Great, exciting passes for us to watch, and we look forward to hopefully talking to you and watching you again next week.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Richie. Cheers.
All right, we got one more interview here before we wrap up, but let's talk to Daniel Banker, who finished in 9th. Daniel, there was a lot of battling going on there around the tail end of the top 10. You brought it home with a 9th place finish. Are you satisfied with that?
Actually, I just looked at my points, and I scored more points yesterday. But, you know, the competition's always tough, even with a little bit less participation because of the summer. So considering that I didn't qualify well, and I started lower than I really expected to, pulling out a 9th is okay.
We were just listening to Barry West, who finished 2 positions up higher than you, talking about how he was struggling with the tyre pressures here and also the track temperature. Were you sharing any of those struggles? Was it difficult to get around here today?
I wasn't really aware that I was having trouble with tires. Maybe I got lucky and selected the right pressure, but you know, I didn't feel like it was sliding out from under me or anything like that.
As we mentioned, there were a lot of cars around there, a lot of battles going on towards the tail end of the top 10. How easy is it to fight for positions on this car around this track? It seemed it was quite difficult. Most of the passes we saw out there today were because of other drivers' mistakes. It was almost another race exactly like yesterday, because yesterday I ended up behind Robert and spent, I don't know, 10 or 11 laps trying to pass him. I had finally got
by him and then made a mistake and he went by. And I thought it was going to be the same thing today, but I made fewer mistakes. So, yeah, I had a really tough time getting a good enough run out of that last turn to make a pass on the straight.
And next week,
I mean, there aren't really any other good spots to pass on this track unless the guy in front of you goes off.
Next week we head to Donington. Will you be showing up for the Classic Team Championship race then?
That track. Also, thanks for doing the broadcast, guys. It's always worth watching.
I gotta confess, there was a technical moment there. Dan, could you repeat that?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be at Donington. I just wanted to say thank you guys for doing the broadcast. I always enjoy watching it.
Well, we appreciate that. Congratulations, Dan, on a solid top 10 finish out there today. A runaway victory up front there, Richie, but still a lot of mid-pack battling going on to keep us entertained.
Yeah, sometimes the races just turn out that way. It doesn't mean they're not as exciting while you're in the cockpit. So it was fun to watch and commentate, and we look forward to the next one.
And the next one will be at Donington Park next week here, same place, same time, on the Global SimRacing Channel. Before we head out tonight, we would like to thank all of the organisers and the competitors from the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship for choosing GSRC. We would also like to thank all of the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. There you can see them all listed on your screen. Additional thanks goes out to Eric Ekholm and Drew Lalonde to provide us with our great music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Richie, Amjad and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, visit us at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at facebook.com/Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gram. All of the upcoming races for our other series are listed on screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.